When it comes to investing, every investor has this one big question. Which is better, SIP or lump sum? This is a never-ending debate. Some might say SIP is the safest, and others may argue that lump sum gives higher returns. But instead of just giving opinions, let's settle this with hard data. I have 25 years of actual Nifty 50 index fund data, and today we are going to break it down step by step to find out which strategy truly wins. And trust me, the results might shock you. So the feast is ready, it's time to serve. Let's start with lump sum investing. Lump sum means investing a big amount like 5 lakh, 10 lakh or even more all at once. Imagine you got a huge bonus or sold a property or received an inheritance. Now, if you invest that money in the stock market or mutual funds, that's lump sum investing, where you deploy the entire amount at one go and let it grow. Next, let's talk about the SIP, Systematic Investment Plan. SIP is like a disciplined habit, where you invest a fixed amount like 10,000, 20,000 or even more every month, no matter whether the market is up or down. This is great for people with a regular income like salaried employees or business owners with steady cash flow. To put it in simpler terms, think of it like this. Lump sum is like an FD. You put in a big amount and let it grow. Whereas SIP is like an RD. You keep adding small amounts regularly and over time it grows into something big. Now it sounds simple, right? But here's the big question. Which one gives better returns? Which strategy works best in different market conditions? And what should you choose? To answer this, we are not just going to discuss theories. We'll test them with real data of Nifty 50 from the last 25 years. Now we'll take 3 different time frames. 3 years, 5 years and 8 years. For each time frame, we will see 2 scenarios. One where lump sum beats SIP and one where SIP beats lump sum. This will help us understand when each strategy works best. First, let's look at cases where investing all at once gave higher returns than monthly SIPs. Let's go back to Jan 2017. You start a SIP of 10,000 per month. After 3 years, by Jan 2020, you have invested 3.7 lakh in total. And your final portfolio value is 4.3 lakh, giving you a profit of 65,000 with an XIRR of 11%. Now, what if you had invested a lump sum of 3.7 lakh on day 1 of the same period? Your investment would have grown to 5.67 lakh with a profit of 1.97 lakh and a CAGR of 5.34%. Clearly, lump sum investing gave way better returns in this scenario. Now let's extend the period from Jan 2003 to Jan 2008. With SIP, you invest 10,000 per month. Over 5 years, that's a total investment of 6.1 lakh. And the final portfolio value is 18 lakh with a profit of 12 lakh and an XIRR of 9%. But with lump sum investing, putting 6.1 lakh on day 1 would have grown to 35 lakh with a profit of 29 lakh and a CAGR of 42%. In this strong bull market, lump sum investing absolutely crushed SIP. Next, let's take a longer period from Jan 2009 to Jan 2017. With a SIP of 10,000 per month, the total investment will be 9.7 lakh. After 8 years, the final value is 13.85 lakh with a profit of 4.15 lakh and an XIRR of 5.27%. Now compare this with a lump sum investing of 9.7 lakh on day 1 for the same period would have grown to 26.4 lakh with a profit of 16.7 lakh and a CAGR of 13.33%. Once again, lump sum outperformed SIP significantly. So, lump sum investing worked great in these cases. But before we draw any conclusion, let's check the opposite scenario. Now let's look at periods where SIP turned out to be the better choice. Let's say at Jan 2011, you decided to invest 10,000 per month and over 3 years, your total investment is 3.7 lakh. By Jan 2014, your final portfolio value is 4.22 lakh with a profit of 52,000 and an XIRR of 11%. Now, if you had invested 3.7 lakh as a lump sum at the start, your final value at Jan 2014 would be 3.8 lakh with just 10,000 profit and a CAGR of 0.88%. In this volatile period, SIP clearly outperformed. Now let's take a 5-year period from April 2000 to April 2005. With a SIP of 10,000 per month, the total investment will be 6.1 lakh. By the end of 5 years, the final value is 10.2 lakh with a profit of 4.1 lakh and an XIRR of 8%. Now compare that to the lump sum investment of 6.1 lakh for the same time frame. The final value is 8.6 lakh with a profit of 2.5 lakh and a CAGR of 7.1%. Once again, SIP did better. Now let's take a 8-year period from Jan 2008 to Jan 2016. With a SIP of 10,000 per month, the total investment will be 9.7 lakh. After 8 years, the final value is 14.43 lakh with a profit of 4.73 lakh and an XIRR of 5.3%. Compare that with the lump sum investment of 9.7 lakh for the same time period. The final value is 12.53 lakh with a profit of 2.83 lakh and a CAGR of 3.25%. Here again, SIP turned out to be the better choice. Now by seeing all these examples, you might think, what's happening here? Why does SIP win in some cases and lump sum in others? Let's break it down. Now why do these differences happen? It is because lump sum investing works best when the market is undervalued or recovering from a crash. If you invest during a market correction, you can buy more units at lower prices. So when the market recovers, your returns can skyrocket. But here's the catch. Timing is everything. If you invest at the peak, you could be stuck waiting for years just to break even. And let's not forget the risk that you are exposed to market volatility all at once. Now what about SIP? SIP works because of rupee-cost averaging. It means when the market is high, you buy fewer units at higher price, and when the market crashes, you buy more units at lower price. So over time, this averages out your cost by reducing risk. And the best part is you don't have to time the market. You have no stress and no constant tracking. Just consistent investing is enough. So the big question is, which one should you choose? If timing the market was easy, everyone would be a stock market genius. But in reality, even experts struggle with it. That's why for most investors, SIP is the best strategy. It removes the stress of market timing, helps you invest consistently, and works well in both rising and falling markets. But what if you have a lump sum amount? Should you just invest it all at once and hope for the best? Not really. Instead of putting your money at risk in one go, there's a smarter way to invest your lump sum. It's STP, Systematic Transfer Plan. So what is STP? STP is like a middle ground between SIP and lump sum. Here's how it works. First, instead of investing your entire lump sum in an equity mutual fund, you park it in a liquid fund which offers around 6% returns without volatility. Then every month, a fixed amount is automatically transferred from the liquid fund to your chosen equity mutual fund, just like an SIP. This way, you are not investing all at once, but your money is still working for you while reducing the risk of market volatility. Now let's take the same example we saw previously where SIP outperformed lump sum. But this time, instead of investing the entire amount at once, we'll use STP. You had 3.7 lakh to invest in Jan 2011. But instead of dumping it all at once into an equity fund, you first parked it into a liquid fund and then gradually transferred 31,000 per month into an equity fund over 12 months. By Jan 2012, the remaining balance in the liquid fund grew to 15,500, giving a profit of 20,600. At the same time, the 3.7 lakh got fully transferred to equity fund by Jan 2012. Due to rupee cost averaging, the total investment accumulated 11,300 units of the index fund. And by Jan 2014, the value of this investment grew to 4.44 lakh, generating a profit of 72,000. So after adding the remaining liquid fund value, the total STP portfolio stood at 4.63 lakh, generating a total profit of 93,000 and an overall return of 7.74%. Now it's time to compare the final values. 3.7 lakh invested in monthly SIPs had grown to 4.22 lakh by Jan 2014. And 3.7 lakh invested directly into equity fund at one go in Jan 2011 had only grown to 3.8 lakh by Jan 2014. Whereas 3.7 lakh invested by STP method had grown to 4.63 lakh. So clearly, STP outperforms both lump sum and SIP in these cases. Now let's fast forward to a different period where the market was highly volatile. 9.7 lakh invested in monthly SIPs in Jan 2008 had grown to 14.43 lakh by Jan 2016. And a lump sum investment of 9.7 lakh invested in Jan 2008 had only grown to 12.53 lakh by Jan 2016. Whereas 9.7 lakh invested by STP method had grown to 20.1 lakh by Jan 2016. Once again, STP outperforms lump sum and SIP. This is because Instead of investing the entire 3.7 lakh or 9.7 lakh at once, STP spreads the investment over time by avoiding the risk of poor market timing. And while waiting for the transfer, the uninvested amount stayed in a liquid fund, generating stable 6% returns, which lump sum investing missed out on. And rupee cost averaging allowed STP to accumulate more units when the market dipped, and giving it an edge over lump sum investing. So if you have a lump sum, blindly investing it all at once can be risky. And that is why STP is the smarter way to invest a lump sum that avoids the risk of poor market timing while maximizing the returns efficiently. Finally, to wrap it up, lump sum investing can generate great returns, but only if timed right. If you invest at the market peak, you might see negative returns for a long time. And SIP removes this risk by investing gradually, taking advantage of rupee cost averaging, which is why it outperformed lump sum in several cases. Finally, STP is the best way to invest if you have lump sum. Instead of risking it all at once, you park it in a liquid fund and transfer it gradually by reducing risk and improving returns. And that's all for this video. But wait, what if I told you that the return percentage you have been using to analyze mutual funds might be tricking you? Yes, CAGR can paint a rosy picture, but the reality could be very different. So how do you spot the real winners? And that's the lead for my next video, so stay tuned. Until then, this is Savarish signing off.